Welcome to the Danceparty247 podcast. I'm the DJ T. We've got DJ Envy and DJ Sam Saint guests with us today. Today we're talking about the RX3, the brand new release from Pioneer. But before we go into that, remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so when the next video goes up, you get notifications. Give us a like, all that kind of stuff. Comment makes all the algorithm look good for us. So who's been doing the homework? Who's seen, heard, and knows a little bit about the RX3? Mr. Envy.
I know Mr. Sam Saint has been, he's got a whole notebook full of facts and bits and bobs. So if Sam would like to start, that would be great.
A big cop out, Mr. Envy.
I will start.
I'll be honest, I haven't actually had time. I've been putting up a shed all day, and I ain't had time to do my homework on this one. I know a little bit, but not a lot, not enough to start the conversation.
Well,
so
I'll tell you what, and tell us what you know, and then we'll continue from that.
It's got a big screen.
What's the size of it?
I think it's a 10.1, isn't it?
It is 10.1,
Yeah. Because the same as the 3000.
Yeah. That's as far as I got. I believe it's the same size as the Denon Prime 4 as well.
Yeah. It's not capacitive though. You can't.
No,
really
you can't
touch it,
zoom in and out and things like that, like you can on the Prime 4.
Poke and select. Yeah.
But okay, Sam. Give us your facts of the day, my friend.
Well, the biggest disappointment for me is that it's not actually available until early 2022, which when I was watching the videos of it, I thought, this might be a tidy little investment here. Purely for the fact that it's got a couple of new features, and they're quite minor features in my opinion, but I think just me being my organised self. So they've got a countdown timer on it. So if you're doing a time set like we do at a gig, an hour and 20 minutes, say, it's actually got a countdown on there. You can see how long you got left without having to go like that all the time. Check your watch, check your phone.
You know, it's not much to look at your watch, is it?
No, but I like it. No, Joe, we're starting again. You just mugged me off. I was happy with that. That's my favourite feature on this whole thing.
You actually generally do like that feature?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a tidy little invention. It's not something that's got... nothing else has got it. Prime 4 ain't got it. XDJ, CDJs haven't got it.
No. But surely there must be more important features on there that are new.
I'm not saying it's the most important feature. I'm saying it's the most impressive new feature.
All right. What else you got?
What else have I got? So you got a touch preview on there now. So you go into your library and you can actually listen to the track without actually, queuing it up, loading it up and queuing it.
Just pressing it, can't you?
Yeah.
It comes through.
Yeah. So it gives you a preview that you need, see how long it takes to come in, whatever. I think that is an absolutely wicked feature. Saves loading it up. That's about it, really.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably the best feature because there's only 2 or 3 new features, isn't there? And I think out of what's on there, that's probably the best one they put on there by miles.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a big screen for those of us who have to wear glasses a lot of the time. That's no bad thing. But the thing is, in a dark environment, it makes it clear. On a serious note, if you're just put in a club environment, then you can, or a bar environment where it's darker, then you can clearly see what you're doing. The bigger screen is good for fat fingers. I can say that much. Because
speak for yourself, buddy.
Well, I haven't used the ones my decks, which will be fat finger, which is only a small area. The fat fingers make a big difference. We use Sam's decks when we're playing out, which a lot of the features are touch features. I try and stay clear of that as much as possible. To be fair, I haven't done any loops or anything like that yet because I know it's gonna F up. Simple as that. So I'll just go time elapsed, time remaining, and that's me done. I will not touch that screen for any other reason because I know my fingers are just too fat, insensitive, and also when you're bobbing around, sweat your fingers and everything like that. You know what I mean? You got to be more precise, haven't you? So big screen is a winner. For me though, and Envy knows this because I said this when it first was out, and before I'd even seen any pictures of it. Big Jog Wheels.
Oh, the Jog. Yeah, the Jog. I think I think the problem with Pioneer controllers, apart from the DDJ 1000,
Yeah.
they're all,
Or the
tiny.
XDJs. Or the XDJs, they've got full jugs.
Yeah, but then you're talking what, nearly $2,000, didn't you,
Mm-hmm.
for a bit of kit? Pioneer always seem to do this. What they'll do, they'll put a nice little feature in that's new, but then they take something away as well. And we spoke about this before, where they put something that's really cool in there, and then they go, well, because we've gave you that, we're going to take that away, and then what we'll do, we'll put that on the new one that we're going to release in a year's time or whatever it is, and then they put that with the feature that they've already put in the new one. And I've never understood that with Pioneer. Never understood it at all.
It'd be nice when okay, there'd be a certain level that's, for home use, semi-professional use, and pro level. You can't deny that the pro level DDJ 1000 and the XDJ range is pro level. But then
when you look at the 1000, again, it's not standalone. So for me, that says it's not a pro level controller.
I would agree with that.
By their own definition, which means they can make their own rules up, their pro level controllers
because of the features they have on there. Yeah. But a pro level controller to me is big jog wheels, standalone, 4 channels, load of effects, and touch pads and all the other bits and pieces.
Well, that's your XDJ, isn't it? There you go. XDJ.
Yeah, but they only have one of them.
1000, you still need a computer, which is not the greatest thing. But what they've done in the RX3, they have put the jog wheels from the 800, DDJ 800 on them. That's what they've done.
I don't understand why they've done that, though, because the RX3 would have been an amazing bit of kit if they'd have put full-size jogs on it.
Well, remember when Wongi was looking at the Prime 4, or just looking for a controller?
Who's Wongi?
The guy we normally take the mick out of on podcast.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I'm with you now.
The guy currently is literally got his foot half cut open. But yeah, when he was looking at the Prime 4, that's what he didn't like about it. The original RXs had not full jog wheels, but bigger jog wheels. The RX2 had smaller
5-inch
wheels.
they had, didn't they?
Yeah, smaller ones. And then obviously they've kept it with the equivalent of the 800s, which is still, whichever way, they're not full size jogs. They're smaller. They're not full size jogs, and it doesn't feel right. I mean, you come from vinyl, so obviously your jog wheels for a CDJs are smaller than what vinyl is. But a jog wheel, I'm looking at here, 4 decks behind me, and they just look like proper decks, proper CD decks or controllers, whatever, need to have full size jogs, because there's a level of intricacy you would have on them, and the feel and touch. DJing, from the DJ's point of view, it's all about the touch and feel of the equipment, isn't it? It's most of it. The sound cards are good enough nowadays. Audience don't really care. They really don't. So from all the equipment side of it, it's the user end,
or how user friendly it is.
Yeah,
the layout, all the other bits and pieces.
To have proper, nicely felt, brushed steel buttons rather than plastic, and to have a jog wheel that's where you can put, it's about the size of your hand. You can actually manipulate properly. I mean, I learned to DJ on a Newmark DN, I think it was DN38, something like that. One of the old. Yes, it was like
the rectangle thing in it, and you got the little jog wheels. Yeah, I remember.
Little jog wheels. You put your finger
Sam, that's way before your time, mate.
But the thing is,
I can imagine it. That's about
the CD decks were that blinking big and that blinking deep.
Well, they had like a proper CD thing that you'd have at home, wouldn't it? It'd be about that wide, about that sort of deep, and you'd have the drawer that popped out. You put your CD in and then load it.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it called, T?
It's a Newmark CDN 38. And the thing is, there's a special edition one as well. I think there's 36s, 34s, 33s, or whatever, something like that. But mine was a special edition 38, and not many of them I came across. It was a nightmare to carry, especially on mobile gigs. It's really, really, really heavy. But yeah, obviously I've learned on small jogs, tiny little jogs.
I could, when I went on them back in the day, I could never get used to them because they didn't move. So the jog wheel on them didn't move like today's jog wheels. They would. I remember using one of them, and you push it, and it would ping back, and you'd have to push, and it'd ping back, and you push.
Yes, you can do those ones. Yeah, it's just like a dial like that, isn't it? Yeah, it's more like a pitch bend.
Yeah, it was horrible. I can't remember what station I was playing on, but they had them in there, and it was just awful trying to mix on them. And the pitch slider was like that big. It was just awful.
This had a decent pitch, as I remember it, but it was you couldn't get your hand on it. It was all finger in the finger.
And as everyone who's listening knows, that fat fingers are no good for small things.
Oh, but you want some tangibility. You want some tangibility, don't you? Okay, can be clean. You want to feel like you're doing something. You don't.
You're not helping, mate.
From playing out on Sam's equipment, that if I was going down the route, and obviously sort of value for money, I would say the Nexus 900s or the next XTJ Mark IIs, the next model up from Sam's, are probably your best value for money in the Pioneer range.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause anything above that, and you're talking your Nexus 2000s, and they're ridiculous.
I mean, obviously, it depends obviously what your budget is, but obviously the bang for the buck in terms of where you're going to get features against obviously the price of it to be reasonable. Then yeah, I would probably go down the 900 route because there's more buttons, there's more physical buttons, and obviously the touch screen. But that's just my personal preference.
Yeah, but a button always feels like you're pushing. You know, when you push a button, you know it's done, didn't you? It's like when you're trying to navigate around a touch screen, it's a bit more.
Well, go to the next extreme. Go to your software. Go on a computer and click a mouse. Does it feel like you're DJing? Does it feel, do you feel that you're manipulating the music? Are you in contact with the equipment that's manipulating the music? You're not. It's just a click and a drag. We've been
through this before, though, haven't we? With certain programs like Virtual DJ, Tractor, and we know some DJs who use software and they're not actually mixing. They're manipulating the music via what do they call them things? It's like a
virtual virtual decks.
Like Deadmau5 does.
Oh, you mean triggering? It's basically obviously just
they trigger the music rather than manipulate it and mix it. And I think that's more when you're going down the route of touchscreens. It feels more like that rather than actually pressing a button to do. Sorry, let me start again. To do what you want it to do.
Yeah,
just move to your right a bit more. No, that's your left.
That's your left.
To your right.
Oh boy.
Keep going.
Keep going.
You're right, Kirsty.
All right, let's carry on then. T, you can carry on because I forgot where I was at.
We're just talking about using the actual computer as or software compared to physicals. I mean, I've done mobiles gigs where I've used software. The nature of multi-genre open format music from 60s upwards is I wouldn't mix it. I would just use software that could mix it. And yeah, I mean, if there's a bit of sort of chart stuff that I'd put in there, then I would physically mix it. But majority of the night, I wouldn't. I've done a mobile gig, but it's not a gig in terms of scratching an itch to mix in a club environment. Would you do that in a club environment? And personally, I wouldn't feel that I've DJ'd.
Well, you say that. So we've got a gig in Scotland, a place called Temple in Falkirk on the 10th of December, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be using a Denon Prime 4 and XTJ 1000s. And we've got one of the DJs playing there. I guarantee that they'll use the Prime 4 because it's easier to use.
Yeah, because that's their personal preference of choice, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So
even if you had 3000s there, Pioneer 3000s, and the Denon 6000s, SC 6000s, he would choose the Denon anyway. And a fair point on that, though. The best, absolutely the best bang for your buck is the Denon SC 5000s.
Yeah, because they've got everything the 3000s have got, pretty much, isn't they?
And there's not
And
much difference between that and the 6000s, is there?
and
So
they're like a fraction of the price. You can pick them up for about 750 quid each.
7.5, between 7.5 and 8,500 quid, yeah, depending
Yeah.
where you look. And for what they are, I saw somebody make a comment the other day that in the next 10 or 15 years that they're getting all the
being club.
Yeah, because they're getting out to the younger generation, the controllers, and obviously you've got separates, but primarily controllers. So therefore, they will be demanding or expecting that kind of equipment rather than the Pioneer equipment, which is Denon's not cheap. None of the equipment we're talking about is cheap, but it's relative to the top end, isn't it? Relative to what Pioneer is the most expensive. But Denon is probably your next. Well, you got specialist items, haven't you? You got Rain do special mixers that cost $3,000 and all that kind of stuff, haven't you? You got proper special stuff like that.
But you won't find that in a club or a bar, though.
No, you won't, because it's going to be used and abused. Yeah, that'll be something
even
at
that.
home.
Most DJs now, or since the beginning of time, you walk into a venue, you know you're going to get Technics, or you know you're going to get Pioneer. Simple as that, isn't it?
10, 15 years time, it might be Denon.
I'd be quite happy for Denon to take over. I like Denon stuff. I've said to you 1,000 times, T, I would still probably get the 5000s over the Mark IIs, the XDJs. Number one, they read record box anyway. Plus, you obviously got the Engine Prime software, and you can plug it in without even using the software, and it will still read it. Where Pioneer, you plug in USB and it ain't been put through record box, it has no idea what's going on.
Okay, Mr. Samsay, you've done your homework. I didn't know they would be out in February. Obviously, I've seen Digital DJ Tips walkthrough of the the RX3. Sorry, how much are they priced at?
So I've seen one available on pre-order for 1,699.
16K.
16 grand, yeah. Yeah, 1,700 quid, just under.
That's a lot,
that
really,
money.
for what it is.
For that money, you can get a Prime 4.
For that money, you can actually buy almost 900. Yeah, for 1,800 quid, £100 more, you can buy some 900 Nexus Pioneer.
Yeah, but then we could go back to the age-old question, isn't it? That most DJs now will have a controller at home. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got a mixer in as well, so obviously you got to forget that it's the decks. There's a mixer in the middle. I mean, the mixers in the middle nowadays are just the watered down version of your 950. Some features there, or all the features there, depending obviously which model of controller you have. So that's 900 quid's worth of kit on its own. And in reality terms, it's not what you play the music through, is it? It's the mixer. That's where you manipulate the music.
Well, your mixer is your workhorse, isn't it?
So everyone goes about the decks, and it's like, oh, the sexy decks, they're flat, but it doesn't matter. As long as the sound coming through, you are manipulating it, and it's the effects and what you do on the actual mixer. You know, the cutting, the chopping, the blending, your EQing, that really makes a difference to your music. Not the actual decks. Doesn't really matter what the source is, does it?
Well, let's be honest. We've said this before as well, that the crowd do not give two rats bibs about it, do they? They couldn't care if you turn up with a laptop or you turn up with, your USBs and you're going to play on a set of 3000s and a DV10. They don't care. All they want is to have a good time. The equipment is more from a DJ's point of view and what the equipment does and what you can get from it.
I mean, you can't deny that when you got a nice piece of clothing on, or a nice pair of boots on your feet, that if they're branded or not, if they're what you desire, if they're what makes you feel good about yourself, then there's every chance that's going to spill over into your personality that night and your attitude. And same on the decks with DJ, isn't it? If the DJ is playing with, excuse my French, crappy equipment, it's not going to put him in a great mood to put up a great performance. It shouldn't make any difference. But we know
it does.
But we know that if you had, I mean, some people are obviously intimidated the other way. Go, oh my gosh, I don't know. And you go into a club and you've got to be club ready, haven't you? You've got to be able to go on a controller. There's a controller there. You go on separates if it's separates there. I mean, nowadays you will not really find
to go from separates to a controller is easy, but to go from a controller to separates for some people can be a big challenge.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I went from obviously the SB2, as you guys know, onto separates, and yeah, I was okay with it. But my thinking on this very much is, especially throughout lockdown, we've got a lot of new DJs that have probably taken up as a hobby and are trying to get gigs in bars and clubs for the first time. And if that venue's got equipment already, what are they DJing on at home? What did they learn on? Was it something lower end controllers like an SB2, that you pick up for a couple of £100? And are they going to jump on to 1000s, separates, whatever it may be? How are they going to feel with that? And it's like you say, it depends on the DJ. Some will get a kick off of it and think, oh, this equipment, I'll look nuts for this, and they'll give the performance of their lives, or they'll go the other way and they'll kind of shy in on themselves and think, oh, look at all these buttons, look at all these.
I think the word you're looking for, Sam, is soil their pants.
Yeah, I was just trying to put it in a nicer way, bro. But
there's no point. Just say it how it is.
I mean,
we know we've done a few club nights now, and we've had different DJs turn up, and we had a bit of an issue where one of our DJs would only use sync that come and played, and the nightmare we had getting it off because none of us use it. It was a bit of a drama, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's a DJ coming from a controller sort of background.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, though. Much like my point about people throughout lockdown probably taking it up as a hobby and whatnot. You've got to put time into learning these things. And if you buy new equipment, certainly if you're making the jump from a controller to separate, you've got to take time to understand what it does and how it all works. And especially when you're going to a club night with multiple DJs who experienced and they probably don't use sync. I just think it comes into etiquette really to know how to get it off. If you're going to do something, you've got to know how to make it right for the normal DJ to start. That was my issue with that particular happening.
Yeah, I mean, we was all looking at the decks like complete morons. We could not get it switched off because we've never used it, and it was an absolute drama, wasn't it? I think the first mix I done, sync was on, and I'm pushing the jog wheel, pushing, and it kept just going back to where it was.
Yeah, because I was upstairs and someone like come running up. I think it might have been Matt P or someone like that. Might have even been half Jade, and he said, "Oh, like, can you come and sort your decks out?" It's like, "What do you mean sort my decks out? What's the matter with them?" So I come down and spoke to you, and you were like, "Syncs on," and I was like, "Mate, I ain't got a clue." My decks, my gear, and I didn't even know how to sort it out because I've not used it.
No. Well, the thing is, fair play to the DJ doing his homework. He's never played on them before, but he knew how to sync them. Probably didn't have to think how to unsync them. We did. I was just thinking there when you two were talking that everything goes in stages, doesn't it? So we've always talked about home DJs, bedroom, kitchen, whatever you are going to DJ in your house.
Even loft DJs have been around.
Loft DJs, yeah, under the stairs. There's been Harry Potter DJs like me.
Yep.
Or out in your shed, wherever you are. But obviously you're practicing at home.
Definitely a shed.
It's a converted shed to a studio.
Yeah, we'll call it a shed because we're on a podcast and I can.
Because you're a dick, that's why.
So, okay, whenever you are, you call it your studio, whatever it is, your bedroom or whatever it is. But obviously the place, the physical place in your room. So we relate to those I guess, and in all reality, probably in a demeaning manner. Yeah. If you class somebody, if you call somebody, if a DJ called you a bedroom DJ, you know exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
And that's
A bedroom
nothing
DJ
against.
is someone who's not able to play out because they're not good enough.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, you've the only experience you've got is at home, and it's a derogatory sense. But we're all home DJs at the same time. We're all, we those.
We all started there, didn't we? We all started in our bedrooms.
Yeah, you've got to start there. Yeah,
we all drive, don't we? But sometimes we're all pedestrians as well. So
not me, mate. I walk nowhere.
We are all.
Can you not tell?
Well, he just gets out of the car and levitate. Yeah. But yeah, obviously we all practice at home in whatever room or environment we've got. Then you got people who then take those equipment. Even reality is probably going to be the upper spec of that equipment out to a bar, and they play in bars. And we find out that the number of clubs and bars we have looked at, the majority of DJs take their own equipment with them. A lot of bars don't have them nowadays. They can't afford them, or they don't want them, or the equipment they supplied is outdated, which it can be quite quickly, and they rely on the DJs to bring themselves. So they just bring their RX3s or whatever with them. So that's what you see. So in almost, you go to any bar that's got a live DJ, I'll guarantee you now, you will not find them on separates. You'll find them on a controller. 9 times out of 10, there'll be a controller.
Do you not find that?
Well,
do you not find that unprofessional?
Well, you might do, but that's the reality of the situation. Yeah. I'll put it this way: are they doing a good job? Are they mixing correctly? Does the crowd care? Are they getting paid? There you go. Doesn't matter. If they're doing a good job, the crowd are loving it. They're getting paid. They're professional. That's it. Simple. There's no bearing on their skill level, their music choice, their ability to perform for a night at all. That's them just filling those tick boxes. The next level would be sort of your regional bars and clubs. I say more regional clubs. So clubs that originally probably in cities that you may well now start to see some separate equipment in there, but then the DJs bring their own equipment in addition to, and they use that. So you see all sorts laid in front of you. Next level above that is your proper big clubs, your proper world famous kind of clubs. Your Egg, your Fabric. You go. There's obviously sort of clubs regionally as well that obviously are renowned at having big headliners, and they will have separate equipment in there. They are the DJs that people aspire to be the headliners, and they use either turntables back. They'll bring their own equipment in, but they won't bring controllers in. They'll be bringing in old school turntables, or they'll be bringing or they have their rider, which will say Denon equipment or Pioneer, which may be. So you have different levels of DJing, don't you? And different equipment that they expect to be on. So we watch quite a bit of YouTube, and I link Envy quite a bit of a guy who's got a club ready school of DJing, and he does videos. And it's right, you've got to be club ready. You've got to be able to put your hands on any equipment that you may well walk into.
But
doesn't necessarily mean you have to.
If you're going to walk into any club and they've got their own gear, you're looking at a Nexus, aren't you?
Well, if you walk into Ministry of Sound, you are going to walk into separates. We're looking to do a gig somewhere in the down south in the country, on the west coast, and they've got 3 floors. They've got 3,000s in one room with a V10, I think it is, a V10 and 3,000s. The next room is a full Nexus 2 kit, all Nexus 2 kit, 950 mixer. The third room, which is a tiny room, only holds 70 people, 50 people in it. Is there 50 people? And that has 900s in it, Nexus 900s in it. And that club is renowned for its techno, drum and bass, underground music.
Yeah, but all them setups, you wouldn't complain, would you? They're decent setups.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if it's by experience or they just set it up to make a bit extra money, but they actually teach there as well. You can actually learn to DJ there on their equipment. Yeah, on their equipment. Now, whether it's because they've had DJs come in and They said, no, you can't bring your own equipment in because the booth is so small. Sometimes the booths are tiny that
Yeah,
what's
we know
already
that,
in
don't
there.
we?
Sometimes, well, one of the places we looked at, you couldn't get a second person in. The second person had to be on the steps on the way into the booth. That's how tiny the booth was. Whatever
Yeah,
equipment's in there is
small.
what's used. If it's supplied by them and they don't want to take it out, then
It was
what they have to play
literally
with.
about a 4-foot booth, wasn't it? Just enough room for the monitor, for computer monitor, for the lighting, the CDJs, and a mixer. It was tiny.
Can't fit 2 people in.
Not fat people, anyway.
Yeah, and obviously, we've played in venues that obviously have quite a lot of room, massive booth. So, but everywhere is a little bit different. So you're not always going to be in a position to bring your own equipment in. But that the equipment, I suppose, being slightly older, and rightly or wrongly, we relate. If you're on separates, you're a better DJ. If you are on small Pioneer equipment or Denon equipment, or whatever it is, at home, then you're not a good DJ. Well, that doesn't always have anything to do with it, does it? It's down to the individual, but it's still classed as, you look at the top end, you look at your world class DJs. What do they DJ on?
3000s, mate.
The Necker's equipment or Denon equipment, isn't it? Yeah, the 6000s or 3000s. That's what they're DJing, or old school turntables, because they've got the skill level to do it. I mean, okay, maybe not every DJ is, but the DJs that we're looking to aspire to, that the pioneers that are still going nowadays.
You got your Kyle Cox, Pete Tong, Fatboy Slim, EZ. Again, another legendary DJ.
A couple of techno tech house DJs, Eats Everything, Patrick Toppin. They're just all on separates, because that's the environment that they DJ in. Top level clubs, arenas, festivals. You go to a festival, how many people go to a festival and rock up with a controller under their arm?
There'll always be someone, wouldn't there?
I'm sure there is. I mean, there are top level controllers, as we've talked about, and that might be the way that they DJ. That's fine. But again, that doesn't mean because you got that you're not a great DJ. But there is a link there in people's perception that what you DJing is relevant to your skill level, isn't it? Rightly or wrongly.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I mean, when I was on my SB2, I always felt like I wanted to upgrade my equipment. I was obviously talking to some of you guys that had separates at the time, and I didn't. And I always wanted to make that jump up. And my first, kind of reasoning to myself was, well, if you go out and do a gig somewhere, and you turn up with a 2-channel tiny SB2 that you can fit under your arm and carry on one finger, it's not. It's not representative of my abilities as a DJ.
It doesn't look professional, does it? To start,
no, it doesn't. But I do think that I do think it is an unfair link that we make to that.
Yeah,
we judge on equipment.
You could rock the night because you know all the ins and outs of that controller, and like we said, you walk onto something and you had the 3000s in front of you, and you're going, right, all I'm going to do tonight is just blend that track to that track. You're not using any capability of the equipment in front of you because you don't know it, you haven't had time on it, and you will not perform as much, even though the equipment can way surpass, obviously, what you brought. But if you played on what you'd brought, you'd have a better night, you'd rock it.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's what we found out, didn't we? We knew that we'd be using Sam's equipment, and it's a watered-down version of the XDJ 1000 is a watered-down version of Nexus equipment. So none of us have got Pioneer equipment except for Sam. So, and even Sam did it himself. We went out to the studio, or the studios have Pirate Studios. Give them a plug. That's where we went. I went in Sheffield. You went down Tottenham.
And such a lovely area, Tottenham. Beautiful. The scenery is amazing.
Yeah, studio was nice and cool as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that one was the one I went to with DJ Wongy. Oh my God, was it hot? I was absolutely dying.
Yeah, mate, I was being sarcastic. It didn't work for us either.
But that is
but no, it weren't as bad as when I first went with Wongy. That was seriously hot. But it was about 28 degrees outside, middle of summer.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that there's a couple of things you learn from there is DJs in a studio environment can't always tell the time. That's what I found. I had to kick two girls out 4 minutes past Hello. Oh yeah, we're just a second finishing. Just as I knocked. Coincidence, isn't it? Yeah. of
Yeah,
course
funny
it
that.
is. Yeah. of course
See,
it is.
if they'd have had the countdown timer, they
There
wouldn't
we
have
go.
gone over their
my
time.
God.
Um,
Yeah, but you think that's bad? Sam, was you with me, Sam, when we had the fire alarm, or was I with Wongy and
No,
Destiny?
that was
Wongy
you and
Destiny.
Wongy.
Yeah, we had the fire alarm 3 times. It went off in there.
Should have got a refund, mate.
Oh, do
But
you know what? It wasn't worth it.
Well, as well as actually getting on the equipment and learn how to do it, and obviously the software is very compatible, obviously with Sam's. So therefore, you know what you're doing on Nexus, and it is easy because that's the way they make it out. They don't change things massively. So, but also as well, the you go in there and the equipment's battered, isn't it? Things don't work.
Yeah, channel faders are falling off.
You name it.
But basically, we went through this and we said it's been Wonginized.
Well, yeah.
But simple as that.
The reality is that's what happens when you walk into a bar. That's what happens when you walk into a club. And we went to a club that one of the faders was twisted and broken. We still had to use it. We had no choice. We tried to change the channels. We couldn't get the channels to change because optical, they were digital out, and that's the one we had to do. And we didn't have the other cables, so therefore we had to use it. You have to get on with it. I had one deck that would only work on CDJ mode, wouldn't work on vinyl. I thought the two girls had busted it when I walked in. I mean, I can't even play on one deck. What am I going to do? So you're just pressing buttons left, right, and centre. And I took it onto CDJ mode, and it worked. I prefer it on vinyl because obviously the way I play, but it worked on that. So things are never perfect. No. Never perfect, but it puts you in that position. There's no pressure on you because you're not literally. I've got 2 minutes to queue up and go live.
You're practicing, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, the DJ's obviously buggered off before you. Left you with obviously sync on.
How would you feel if you went to a private studio, say, and you rock up there and they had an RX3 in there? You'd be pretty peed off, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't choose a studio that had an RX3 in it.
No, but you didn't know. You know.
Well, I would, because obviously the way I'll tell you for why. Because the way they set their booking system out, it tells you exactly what's in the room.
Yes,
although it does say or alternative equipment.
Right, exactly. So you rock up there. It says it's got Nexus in there, but something's happened and they've chucked in a controller. You're not going to be overly impressed, are you?
If it was an XDJ model, then I mean that's fine because it's standalone. It's pretty much like a Nexus system. But if it's an RX3 or DDJ 1000, which you have to put your computer up to or something like that, your laptop, and you're not able to use it. So, no, I'd walk out and ask obviously for your money back.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, though, isn't it? It's like, they're all great. All the new RX3s, probably fantastic. Probably is such a great bit of kit, but for a proper DJ, you just wouldn't.
Again, you're making the association. Who's a proper DJ?
Well, I won't name names.
No, but the thing is,
you ain't a proper DJ.
What you're doing is you're associating who's got the equipment. This way, can you afford? I'll give you this question right now. Can you afford right now and go get an RX3? Assuming they're in the shop, 1,700 quid. No, well, you're not a proper DJ, then, are you?
But even if I could, I wouldn't buy it.
I know you wouldn't because you spend the money elsewhere on separate. So I understand that. But what I'm saying is that because somebody has got that, they've got the money, doesn't necessarily mean they don't have the DJ skills.
No, I'm not saying
because that equipment would be more expensive. I tell you this much: that equipment is way more expensive than all your equipment all tallied up together. Doesn't make you a proper DJ because you haven't got the equipment that, in value terms, is an RX3, or you wear an RX3 and you could rock an RX3. But what I'm saying is that if you're going on the classical separates for top class club DJs, and if you're talking controllers, top level controllers in bars, and then lower level controllers for home DJs, you're relating the equipment to the level of the DJ. And we know very much on Twitch there is an absolute massive load of DJs who've got the XZ because they can't afford the Pioneer equipment, and yet they're the DJs that have residencies all over the country and gig out every weekend. I can rock it on separates, but when they're at home, they're on an XZ system.
Yeah, see, I couldn't bring myself to buy a controller.
I think the XZ is possibly obviously now I've upgraded from the SB2. I think the XZ is probably the only controller that I would buy or contemplate buying.
Technically, it's not a controller, is it? You want to get right down to it. It's not a controller.
It's all right. It's standalone. It's not
Standalone,
controller.
which is different. You've got 3 sections, and we're classing standalones as controllers all as one. It's not. It's 2 decks and a mixer, standalone, no computer required, which is exactly the same as your separates.
It's just more portable.
No difference. There's no difference. Absolutely no difference because there's no computer involved. Because we know now everything you can do on separates, you can do it on a standalone or a controller. You can link them. You can put one as master. You can sync them. You can do everything, can't you?
Yeah.
So what's the difference between being on a standalone then and separates? Just because you can take it away and walk away and replace the one with another one, that's the only difference. What they actually do, the fundamentals of them is no different. No difference. It's cheaper to buy it as one unit. That's all.
Well, yeah, to a degree it's cheaper, but then it comes down to putting the time in to find the equipment that you want. I got lucky with this gear, but I paid less for this than what I would for the RX3, which isn't even standalone. So it just comes down to timing and luck to a certain degree. You set out a budget. I had a budget in my head. This managed to fit in my budget, but
the thing is, Pioneer set the equipment up, don't they? They set it for like beginners, more advanced than sort of semi-pro and pro gear. That's the way they set it. So you'd expect that the DJ would progress themselves through that when they needed to go up to the next level, and then they would do so. And probably majority of DJs do fall within that, that scope. But a lot of them don't. When you get up to the top end, they think, well, you should be on 3,000 or Nexus or 5,000, 6,000 equipment. It's like, well, I can't afford that. I don't want that. It's not convenient for me to do that. The space I've got or anything of that nature, I can play on those when I'm in the club or in the bar. I don't need to have that. I just need something that keeps me ticking over when I'm at home. Think about it. If you're playing out, if you're playing out 5-6 nights a week, you wouldn't have any equipment at home. Wouldn't be touched.
No, well, you wouldn't have time, would you?
Just wouldn't, because you'd be playing out so much on the equipment, whatever the bar is, whatever that equipment may be. You would not be doing anything else at home. You wouldn't. And we know one DJ who does that, and he plays out about 5-6 nights a week, and he just buys equipment so the taxman doesn't have to charge him with his equipment. He's just like, well, I've got this new rain equipment. It's in the shed or in the loft. I have to bring it down. But I can't tell my wife because she doesn't need to know. Remember?
Yeah. Brand
new rain equipment is $3,000 worth of equipment. There you go.
No, just sitting up in the loft doing nothing, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think I'll just change it up this week. I was like, okay. Fair enough.
Thank you for watching the Dance Party 247 podcast. You've had myself, DJ MV, DJ T, and Sam Saint. Thank you very much.
See ya.